23 ABC is dedicated to continuing this really important conversation, going in depth on issues like these that have an impact directly on you and your family. And this morning we're joined by Pastor V.K. Joynes from the People's Missionary Baptist Church. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me on.
Now, you've had a little more than a day now to kind of digest these three guilty verdicts. What's your personal reaction?
I think the verdicts were obviously correct. I don't know how anyone could see that video and think that there was an accident or that there was just negligence. That was a deliberate act, and the verdicts are right on time.
There's been so much discussion on a national level, and one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you is to find out specifically how people here are feeling. Have you had a lot of conversations since these verdicts, and can you kind of let us in on what those conversations have been?
Been having conversations every day. And most of the people that I've talked to, as a matter of fact, probably 100% of the people that I've talked to, believe that he did indeed commit murder and that should have been convicted. However, there are a lot of people who did not think it was going to happen. And that's really the sad part about this whole process, is that as obvious as the video is, there were still people who thought there would not be justice for George Floyd.
You know, a lot of people are viewing this as an important step, but a starting point. So what do you think, the next steps are for us?
I think the next step for me is, what I would like to see is not have to have trials at all for Black men and women being killed at the hands of police. While it is satisfying that Derek Chauvin is going to spend a long time in prison, it would be much more satisfying to me if I had never heard the name of George Floyd. Or Breonna Taylor, or Dante White, or Ahmaud Arbery. That's the thing that I think we really have to get to, is where these events are not happening, because justice for them would be for George Floyd and all the other names I've called, would be for them to be at home with their families today.
And that's exactly it. The president really pushing police reform at this point. What do you think needs to be done in order to rebuild trust and really establish a positive relationship between Black Americans and police?
I think that the reforms are going to be good, but what has to be reformed more than anything else is the heart of the men and women who don't value Black lives. That's the thing that's going to have to change the most, because there are policies and things in place already that are not being followed. And so if you don't change how that person who stops me on a traffic stop views me, then you're always going to have the possibility of these types of tragedies.
Now, one of the things that I found noteworthy is, over the past few days, we've been seeing people gathering across the country, and it's not just Black Americans, it's people from every single race. A lot of people, regardless of the color of their skin, they want to help and they want to evoke change. What would your message be, to everyone here in the community? Because we all have a part to play in making this change.
I would say that we have to engage with one another. There has to be conversation. There has to be interaction, regardless of race or color. One of the things that I think helps more than anything is when you really understand or get to know a person. And I think it's important that there be that interaction across color lines, across neighborhood barriers, so that people are seen as human and not just seen as Black or white or whatever color.
And I'll leave you with a final question. Are you optimistic or hopeful that we can continue to move forward and evoke, some real change in this country?
I am hopeful. I think that change is only going to take place under pressure. That's the sad part about it, is that there's going to have to be continued pressure on the powers that be to make sure that citizens of color and those who are marginalized are not treated differently by police. And right now, that's not the case. And so I think we have to continue to make strides, put pressure on those who make those decisions.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning about a really important conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.